Jim, you don't want to see the football season end. I know that it's been a real good run for you. What is it now? I've got the notes here. 21-6 NFL run and 13-7 so far on props that you've gotten involved in the playoffs, and of course there'll be a lot more of those this weekend.
Well, yeah, it's been magical, but we've been doing this business together, Dave, for I don't know 30 years.
Don't say how many years.
Well, okay, a couple years. And we both have these hot runs, and the last couple of years in pro football has been absolutely incredible for me. As a matter of fact, there's a contest out here called the Westgate. Last year I hit 63%, I got out of the money. Previous year I hit 63%, I was out of the money. And there's like 2,000 people in this contest, so the one year somebody hit like
So over
$76,000
first prize this year.
I know, it's incredible. And next year it'll hit
Yeah,
$1 million.
yeah.
Well, this year I said, if I hit 63% in the contest and don't get any money, I might as well just forget it. And
63% would have gotten you some money this year.
It would have, but I actually didn't hit 63%. I hit 64.5%. So I definitely would have been some money.
Yep.
But I decided not to go in because, it's a responsibility and you have to get your picks out. You got to pick against one line, and it's always different than the line that's on the board, and it messes with your head. So it's a lot of work, and I don't regret not doing it because the more focus I had on my totals and my game sides, not considering a contest, because it does take energy and time away from other things. I actually won more money betting. So it was a great year, and college basketball's been good. Dave, you've been doing unbelievable on yourself. You've been doing very well.
Some nights good, some nights not so good. But the one thing that's been really good, before we get to mine, you have a setup this weekend where you put together a 3-pick Super Bowl prop.
Well, they call them 3-packs. So
John
calls them 3-packs. So what we have is we have a trio of Super Bowl prop 3-packs, and they're $25. Now you can buy them either online or you can call my office. And online, it's of course at jimfeist.com. We have an inner circle prop bet. This is a little bit more special. That's $49. So either online at jimfeist.com, $25 3-packs or $49 for the inner circle prop bet. Or you can call 866-546-9467. So it's jimfeist.com. There's several things there in prop bets. 3-packs, a trio of 3-packs for $25 each. Or the inner circle prop bet, which is $49, and you can get it online at jimfeist.com or call 866-546-9467. Dave, 12-4-1 in exclusive plays.
Yeah, these are the plays that aren't online any place. You have to call the office to get them, and they've done really well. They're 12-4-1. We average about one a week, so that's going back roughly 17 weeks. Not bad. Is it going to hit 75% forever? I'd like it to. It probably won't. I think that's probably safe to say. But they've been good. I'll tell you what else has been good. And I know I've been making a big deal about this, and I don't even know how many people have signed up so far for this newsletter. It's a daily newsletter, is what it amounts to. But the results have been absolutely incredible so far. And that's these Pros versus Joes report. We have access to more information than most people, and I'm not saying that because, part of it is that we've been around for a long time. We know everybody. And it's true. But there are informational sources out there. Sources, excuse me. I slipped into New Englandese for a second and said sources. That will provide you with accurate numbers as far as ticket count, dollars, on account dollars, over-the-counter dollars, etc. And this is all really good information. These aren't games that we handicap. This is just providing the information. But I can tell you this, now in football it wasn't very good for most of the season. I think most people know that the public did extremely well in the NFL this season. But the norm has taken over in college basketball in a really big way. The sharp versus square games, the pros are getting the money on a very regular basis. And here's the difference. You got a handful of NFL games a week. There might be 3 or 4 pros versus Joes games during an entire week of NFL action. College basketball, you got that every day. There's 3 or 4 games every single day. Even on Fridays when it's a short card, you'll see a couple. The results have been unbelievable. I wish they were all my plays because I could sit here and say I'm killing it right now. They're not our plays. It's just information. But holy Jesus. I mean, it's sensational. The offer on the website is 4 weeks for $99. I think you're nuts if you don't try it out and see for yourself what's out there every day. But I'm going to tie it into an offer that I have.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is give you a week of basketball along with one of the exclusive plays. And again, they're 12-4-1 so far. And you'll also get the Pros versus Joes Daily Report and all that for $49 for 1 week. So if you want to get my selections and this special, it's $49, or get the offer 4 weeks for $99 at the website. The number to call, if you want to do it that way, is 855-472-2577. And if you do want to sign up for the $49 offer with the exclusive play, obviously you have to call in for that. But either way, get these reports. There's no hype involved. We're not selling anything on these. It's just information. And I can basically guarantee you that you will be a sharper bettor because of it.
Well, we're doing the work of putting it together.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so Dave is doing most of the work. He's monitoring things. I do as well.
There's 3 reports each day, by the way.
Right now.
One about 9 in the morning. I'll usually update it if anything's happening by noon, and then I'll do a late update if something shows through about roughly 3:30 Pacific time.
The other day, we dug up some information on a Bowling Green. And
Right.
They had some issue. So I sent a note to Dave, and I said, this is what's happening. They had 3 players. I think it was 3 players.
There's 3 starters and a reserve.
Right. And obviously, I use the a lot of times, like Dave said, these are not handicapped games. However, we're not donkeys. We see the information. Believe me, when I saw what was happening with Bowling Green, Ohio became a big play for my customers and for me. So it was a very profitable move on that particular game. And we do that. Now, we don't always know why a game is moving in one direction or another, but we know who's making the moves.
And whether it's legitimate or not.
Right.
Now, there's several games on today's card that have moved a half point or a point, but it's not sharp money that moved the line. It might look like sharp money because you might actually see the bet percentages lined up the other way, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is sharp money. And that's where being able to talk to actual bookmakers, not only in Nevada, but also in states where it ain't legal.
How about
but
countries?
they do have, well, oh yeah, offshore as well.
Where it actually is legal, but it's legal there.
Right.
You know, so.
But not for nothing, but we know this. The biggest bookmakers in the world are New York City. And if you have good information from New York City, and it is, there might be some offshores that have some major volume that might contend with them because they're getting it from all over the world. But if you're talking about just our American sports scene, the biggest money's in New York.
It is. I mean, that's where Wall Street is. That's where the biggest businesses are in this country located, their home offices and things. I could argue with that statement in this respect. A lot of big bookmakers don't want to get killed, so they put limits on their stuff. And there are some bigger places away that take some serious dollars. One of the things that's happened recently, and of course it has to do with economic situations in the country and in the world, there's a lot of big money out there. And they move $500,000 bets on games. I mean, not necessarily in college basketball, you're not going to find that. But you can find it in football.
But you can get, even here, I'm not going to do advertisements for particular sports books here. You can get 6-figure bets on a college basketball game in Nevada.
Well, you talk every day on your radio show with someone that
yes,
does exactly
absolutely.
that.
Yep.
It's legal.
Yep.
It's legal, and I think we could probably mention their name. We could, right? It wouldn't
Sure.
hurt. It's legal. There's nothing illegal about CG Technologies, and they have They take tremendous bets, and they're very knowledgeable.
And not just on the big
the
games.
fellows that you interview all the time from there is
Matthew Holt and Jason Simbel.
Yeah, those guys are.
And
They
the information they provide on the show is sensational.
They know their stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do. So I mean, I listen to that. Even when I'm not on, I do listen to it, and there's some great information. But a lot of the bets that come in, a guy comes in with $500,000. He may be a billionaire or 30 times over or something. He's not necessarily sharp.
Right.
He's just big. Okay, so you go in with your $20. He goes in with $500,000. You might be smarter than him. But what we try to do is monitor the people that actually are the sharps. That whether they're betting 1,000 or 50,000 or 500,000, we know they're different than the guys that come in with just deep pockets.
Right. So it's really good information, and that's not hype and it's not bull. And again, we're not selling anything. And in other words, this isn't one of those deals where, well, you're gonna have to pay more money to get the sharper plays. You get the whole report, okay? So take advantage of that. Now, we did our poll question of the week. We're still doing this. And the question was, what was the most memorable Super Bowl upset of all time? Giants plus 12 in 2008, Patriots plus 14 versus the Rams in 2002, Jets plus 19 versus the Colts in 1969. I had either $10 or $25, I don't remember which, on the Jets, plus the points in that game. There was no money line back then, by the way. So if anybody tells you, oh, I had him on the money line.
And there were no props either.
No, there was no money line in that game. It hadn't been invented yet, as far as I know. And the Broncos plus 11 versus Green Bay in 1998. Obviously, I'm going with the Jets as the biggest upset, and the one that disturbed me the most was the Giants.
It was the biggest upset because look at
Right.
the number. But
Yeah.
what was the most competitive, in your opinion, the most competitive, most interesting, most exciting of those games? Because we've seen, you and I have seen them.
Well,
all.
I mean, Giants plus 12. I hated it because, and I'm wearing this because the Patriots are in the Super Bowl. I don't have a Patriots jacket, so I went with the Reds.
Helmet catch?
I went with the Red Sox. Yeah, guy who never caught another pass in the National Football League catches the ball on his head
And becomes famous. Total. It's one of those fluke things. But actually, here's the results. It was a tie. 36% of you chose the Giants beating the Patriots as a 12-point dog in 2008. And 36%, exactly the same percentage, chose the Patriots upsetting the Rams 20-17 as a 14-point dog in 2002.
My personal best Super Bowl.
Really?
I did play the money line in that game, and in
Well,
fact, I gave it out.
That was a pretty big money line.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but it was good. I was doing I got contacted by it was Mike Carino over. He was in New York, at the time, and he asked me to come down. And they had a bunch of ex-Raiders there that weekend. Some great former football players. They had them in town, and for the big Super Bowl bash that they were having, they decided to have someone local come in and talk about the Super Bowl from a point spread perspective. And I got up on the stage and I said, I think the Patriots are going to win this football game.
Right.
And these guys on the Raiders, the former football players, it's like, what the hell are you talking about, man? That's why ex-players should be talking about this stuff. Now, one of them called me after this, but they didn't have my number.
Well, that was, you talked about the Jets when you took the 19 with the Jets.
I thought I took less. I thought it was like 17.
Well,
or something like
okay,
that.
it was in that neighborhood, but that was the game where Joe
Willie.
Yeah, Willie, Broadway Joe.
Guaranteed it.
He guaranteed the win. And everybody thought, definitely everybody, you're going up against Johnny U.
Well, my family thought, and believe me, these guys, they knew their stuff as far as sports betting is concerned, being on a certain side of the window. What are you doing? You're throwing your money away. It wasn't much money. Again, it was an insignificant amount of money. It might have been 10 or 25 bucks. I was only a kid at the time. But I didn't think they were going to win. I did it because I liked the AFL.
Well, yeah.
I was a kid, and growing up in the '60s, if you were a kid, there was a good chance you were going to really like the AFL because it was wide open and it was kind of.
It was fun.
And it was revolutionary. It was anti-establishment, which the NFL was, and that was a big. For anybody who's been alive that long, you know what we're talking about. This was. If you think there's a division now in the country, holy cow! You go back to the late '60s, man. It was brutal. It was really brutal, and it was an us versus them mentality where anybody who was over the age of 30 was an old geezer that it's like, you don't know. And we would do just the opposite of what it. So they all like the National Football League.
Of course.
And I like the AFL.
Yeah, Johnny
so.
Unitas was, he was a god.
He was, and he was a god, too. He was a great
And
quarterback.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, when you look at it, Joe Namath wasn't really a great quarterback.
Well, he would have been had
stats.
it not been for the knees.
Yeah, well, of course, that happens. It's all part of the game.
It's you're born when you're born. If Joe Namath were playing today, they'd have been able to fix his knees.
Yeah.
And he'd have been one of the best of all time.
Oh,
I mean,
he
what
was.
a passer. Unbelievable.
Well, you go back to his college day. I mean, this guy was fantastic, but he never developed because of those injuries. But that happens. That happens in every sport.
Couldn't move in. Back then, there were no rules to protect the quarterback. So, quarterback would throw the ball and like 5 steps later, he'd get whaled by somebody. That's the way it was.
And there were no
then.
rules about head hits and late hits.
No, you want to have some laughs. Dig up an old Art Donovan interview. Art Donovan was a defensive lineman for the Baltimore Colts, and he was hilarious. Did a lot of shows with Johnny Carson and then David Letterman, and he wasn't exaggerating when he told you about some of the stuff that took place in the field. It was nasty.
He did all his training at the bar. He did.
Anyway, we want to thank everyone for participating in this week's poll question, and remind you that we'll post a new Proline poll question every Monday morning on our respective social media networks, and the results will get announced right here on Proline. All right, so let's get into some props, and I'm going to give you one that I like.
Okay.
And what I tried to do was find a prop, and basically it was just one prop that would allow me the option to either sit back if I'm doing well with it, or if I'm not doing well with it, or I think I might lose it, to be able to buy out and get out of the thing without losing money. So, and this was at the Westgate. I don't know what the price is now, but I'll just tell you what the price was when I bet it. It was an over and under on biggest margin during the game that either team would be ahead. And it was 16.5 points, and I took the under. To me, that's, first of all, I do think it's going to be a very competitive football game, so I'm not sure anybody's ever going to get ahead by 17 points. But if, for instance, the Patriots get out in front by 10, or Atlanta gets ahead by 13, and they look like they're kind of dominating, this is something where there's going to be live betting options throughout the game, and I can pretty much just get out of it. So I can either leave the bet alone if the game's going the way I think it's going to go, or get out of it and absorb a minimal loss, and maybe even get a profit out of it by live betting. I think personally, I think live betting's, for me, is a better option during the game than the props, because it's conceivable I'll be able to get plus money on both sides at points during the game, and then just sit back and relax.
Well, I totally agree. If you think about live betting, it's like if you go into a bookstore and you see a book on the shelf and you say, hey, this might be interesting. And you read the back cover and that sounds interesting topic. Let's go buy this book. Well, live betting is almost like you read the first chapter, and now you can determine with more knowledge that this is going to be a pretty good read or not. And in live betting, you can see the trends taking place. And if an injury pops up here or there, and you got a guy going out, you got a guy coming in, all of a sudden an offensive, defensive player is hurt, and they got a sub in there, and you don't know whether the real starter is going to come back into the game or not. You got a hedge there. I mean, the other night, Villanova playing Virginia college basketball. I had Virginia in the game, took the points. They led the whole game. I mean, they, other than some play at the end of the game by Villanova and maybe some refs helping out a little bit here and there, which absolutely never happens, of course. Villanova should not have won that game. Virginia was the better team that night, in my opinion. So during the game, Virginia is way ahead. And I'm taking 11 and I'm with Villanova because I know they're going to make a comeback.
Right.
I know they're home, and I know they're going to get favoritism. They are the national champs from a year ago, and that always is the case. And the media loves close games, and they high ratings, and all kinds of stuff that goes on. So I'm betting anyway. I'm taking Villanova, boom, boom, boom. I'm taking 11.5, taking 11, I'm taking 10.5. I'm, figuring the game is going to end up similar to what the original handicap was on the game, 5 or 6 in that range. And sure enough, so I win my first bet, which was Virginia plus the number, and I'm winning, and then I end up. So this is a bonanza, and that's what happens in live betting. So the Super Bowl is perfect for that, because if you look at the Super Bowl, there's no way anybody should be favored, except you got the experience of one team versus the youth of the other team. You know, all the things that we will discuss going forward. So as far as prop bets, totally agree with what you said. I'm looking at, there's a lot of interesting prop bets. Not all of them are bettable because they don't make sense. But more receiving yards, Edelman or Julio Jones. Jones is minus 6.5 for that. So that's an interesting one. I'll give you Jones in that spot, minus the 6.5, because he's more likely to get a bigger play. Edelman, I think, will have a lot more receptions, but he'll be picking up 5, 6, 4, 8. Julio Jones might pick up two long ones for 40 or something
Yeah, if
like
it was
that.
number of passes, I'd certainly rather have Edelman, especially since
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure Belichick, part of his game plan, because this is what Belichick does, is he attempts to take away the best weapon on the other team, and Jones is the best weapon in the Falcons, so they're going to pay special attention to him. But that could open, see, that's where a lot of the prop bettors are jumping on the other Falcon receivers, Sanu and Gabriel, to have big days.
Oh, by the way, Gabriel's an interesting.
Ooh, he's explosive.
He's explosive, and you know he's going to be good because the Cleveland Browns cut him. So you absolutely know that. But the thing about shutting down any player on Atlanta is they have an enormous buffet of great players, even their backs, in Freeman and Coleman. These guys catch the ball very well. They run the ball well. They pass block well. These guys are that's a tandem there. That's a tough matchup. And I don't really think focusing on Jones is going to be the answer for New England. I think there's more schemes that need to take place there.
How about this prop? This is a good one, because it brings the refs into it. And refs like to throw flags. Shortest TD of the game, under or over 1.5 yards. Well, I like the over because, I like the under because you've got a situation here where you could very well get a pass interference down in the end zone, and then ball's not at the 1 yard line, obviously, but it might take a couple of plays to get it in, but you'll be in a short yardage situation, and you could that's the spot where I think you could definitely get a 1 yard run for a touchdown. So I think that's. And by the way, the books made that the favorite. They made it minus 120.
They're minus 120, and the 1.5 is the number. And if you do have an interference or anything in the end zone, it's first down on the 1, correct? Or is it on the 2?
2. Is it 2 or 1? And you know what? I'm blanking on it, which makes me sound like an idiot. But
I always thought it was the 1, but maybe it's the 2. But
it's the 2 in college and 1 in the pros.
That could be it. That's what it is. Yeah. So.
I'm not an NFL rules expert, so.
Our running backs, Pat's running back Dion Lewis, who's happens to be very, very quick, rushing and receiving yards over 54.5, minus 120. Now, if you're going to shut down somebody, now Quinn is a pretty good defensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator for Seattle in 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, he's actually got a lot of Super Bowl experience.
Right. And Lewis is a guy, when this guy plays and starts, the Patriots don't lose. So this is a guy you should focus on. But the over and under is 54.5 yards, minus 120. You like that over under, Dave? You think about that one?
I think he's got a chance to break a play someplace. So.
Do you see?
I mean, that's just a guess. I put no research into that at all. So.
Well, it really depends on whether you believe there's going to be enough running plays. Of course, in this case, it's receiving and rushing. Is this game going to be a game that's played out with the backs running the ball, trying to control the clock, keeping the other guys off the field, or is it going to be a passing game?
I think it's got to be a passing game all the way.
You know, it comes down to strategy.
Yeah.
And of course, the ability to run the ball.
I think Belichick's going to play fast.
Well,
I think and Atlanta's defense can be vulnerable. So we'll see. It's going to be fun.
that's why they set it at 58.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
57 and a half. It's up to 59 now.
Yeah. Public's going to bet the over.
Right.
Sharp money. I don't know why the sharp money showed early. That made no sense to me whatsoever. Sometimes sharps do things that, even the pro bettors do things that baffle me. To me, if you like the
Maybe they're looking to play it back.
Most of the sharper guys that I have talked to, and I do very few NFL totals, so this isn't my play. But most of them seem to favor the under. They think the number is too high. But the question I've had for them, and it's kind of got blank stares on it, was why'd you play it so soon? You know the public's betting the over in this game. Why'd you wait till game time?
That's a good question. If you like the under, you should wait.
This guy, and I'm a very respected guy, he took like under 58 and a half or something. It's like, I don't understand that.
Somehow he must have made the game like 53 or something. They just
I'd
thought
still
it was,
wait.
thought it was he didn't
Oh, no,
think
look,
about where the public.
Believe me, and I'm not trying to make it sound like I don't make the same mistake. I happen to win the game yesterday, but I had Toledo plus the points. I bet it at 3.5 or 4 against Ball State. It closed like 7. So I don't always get the best of it myself. Fortunately, I got a nice win in that game. All right, if folks want to get free plays sent to their cell phone via text, it is very easy.
Text GAME, GAME, that's right, GAME, GAME, to 25827, and we'll send you a free play right to your cell phone right now. GAME, GAME, 25827.
All right, so we'll come back. We'll take a little bit of a gander at some college basketball. All right, so we got a big college basketball weekend as well, and we'll take a little bit of a look. And this isn't a play yet. There's no line in the game, obviously, yet, and I certainly haven't gone in depth on this. I will on Friday. North Carolina, Notre Dame, North Carolina is a big game, and North Carolina's hoping it's not a rerun of what happened to them against Miami. They got their butts kicked in that game.
Well, they were on the road.
Yep.
Miami can come up with a play, a good game once in a while. And if North Carolina, any team, if they're not on their feed that day, they can be had. And that was a shocker because they were never in it. And Notre Dame is in kind of a slump themselves
actually,
right now.
neither one of these teams is playing great ball right now. Because
Right.
Notre Dame has had a couple of shaky performances in a row, and North Carolina did not exactly rebound from the Miami game with a great performance. They barely got by what I think is a bad Pittsburgh team at this point.
Well, it's a Pittsburgh team that looks like they quit on their coach.
Well, they did put up a hell of an effort at Chapel Hill, 2-point game on was it Tuesday. So that was a strong performance by Pitt, but maybe not a good performance by North Carolina. So neither of these teams is in peak form right now. I will say this, despite the fact that they have not been impressive in their last couple of games either, when Bray's got time to prepare for a specific opponent, I don't like going against them. And I think Bray, in-game, is a better coach than Roy Williams.
Hands down. Hands down. He doesn't have the talent, usually. He does a better job with what he has. Roy looks good on TV.
Phenomenal recruiter.
Phenomenal
And
recruiter.
I think he's a very good organizer.
Yep. But I don't think he's a great coach. I think he's an okay coach. Bray does a little bit better with what he has. The issue now, let's talk fundamentally and structure. Because if you notice, you're starting to see a lot of your big teams lose straight up as double-digit favorites. There's a reason for that, and it happens every year, and I've been doing this for 47 years, and I'm telling you, there's a reason for that. Now, it wasn't always the case years ago because they didn't always have conference tournaments. But they know that they have conference tournaments coming up in a very short time. And it's been a long season already. They had the preseason games that you don't see that they played. You had all the practice sessions. They just went through finals in their courses in school. Holidays, back to working hard, back to practice, back to playing games, but they're focused down the road on their conference tournaments, which both these teams are going to be there and have a potential to win it. And then, of course, the postseason tournaments, which is the NCAA, the NIT, the CBI, and the CIT.
Don't forget the Vegas.
And the
8,
Vegas,
yeah.
the Vegas 16 or something, or the Vegas 8.
Vegas 16, that only became 8.
It shrunk.
Yes.
Like our,
They stuck it in the dryer.
we're not gonna, I don't know, where do I go from there?
I don't know.
But anyway, that's a fundamental way of looking at what is actually happening. Be careful laying double digits with big teams because they may not have the focus. And the other thing, at this time of year, after so many games, so many practice sessions, they also have injuries, bruises. You know, they're limping a little bit. They're not feeling quite as energetic or as good as they did back in August and September when they were preparing for the season. So you have to be aware of that. And
It's also, excuse me, we're into the part of the season where in several conferences rematches are now taking place. So, you know, I'm not suggesting that you blanket play same season revenge sides, but it's a starting point, and try and see what happened in the first game, read the accounts of what took place, and try and perhaps isolate on teams where you know there's going to be a really strong revenge motive, and it might be worth a couple of points. And that's where obtaining value, it's what it's all about, is just getting that couple of points edge.
For people have asked me for years, I mean decades, why do you spend so much time? I can look at a game and tell you who's going to win right now. You know, yeah, right. It ain't gonna work. You gotta dig. You gotta dig into all these factors. If you want, you got a bookmaker over here, an odds maker over here, and you're paying them 105 or 110 to make a bet. So, which means you're getting 91 on a dollar. They're getting $1 on 91. So they've got the edge. You've got to work hard to overcome that edge and overcome the fact that you also want to make a profit. So it's not about breaking even. It takes a lot of work. It's a lot of digging. It's the revenge. It's the injuries. It's the time of year. It's all the things that are going on. It's the weather. It's the travel. And God knows there's been a lot of bad weather. The East is getting pounded again right now. So all those things go into it. You think this is easy? Try doing it for a year and making a living at it. I guarantee you, you're going to come back to your regular job.